quantum. Quantum has a huge impact on every industry and also on the telecom industry. And I'm here with two members, the chair and the vice chair, at the new task force that has been released by GSMA last year at the Mobile World Congress in Las Vegas for the task force, the Post-Quantum Taskforce in the telecom industry. And that's very important because it needs to be regulated and it needs to be coordinated to manage this new type of era. Two experts, Luke Ibbetson, you're heading the R&D for the Vodafone Group, and Lory Thorpe, you're heading the global solutions for IBM in the telecom industry. Welcome, two experts. Main question is, what's this task force all about? Who can help me out?
Well, quantum computers present some enormous benefits to society. So we see their application in all sorts of fields, from pharmaceuticals through to finance, through to healthcare. But they also, by nature, represent a threat to the type of everyday security that data allows them today. So we initiated the task force within the framework of the GSMA in order to raise awareness of that challenge within the telco industry, the fact that we need to be taking some steps towards mitigating the future threat that quantum computers may pose to the security of customer data.
And talking about this security, cryptography, who can explain me more about how this is going to help protecting everybody in the quantum era?
So in the quantum era, we'll need to be looking at upgrading the security mechanisms that are currently in place. So the areas where cryptography is going to be under threat, it's primarily in public key cryptography, although there are also maybe some other areas that may be impacted as well. But fundamentally, we're looking at an evolution of security. So we're looking at, and in the telco industry, the implication of that is that we need to be looking at what needs to change from a standardization perspective. What does the supply chain need to do to be able to ensure that we have the right solutions available at the right time so that we can enable that journey to post-quantum cryptography.
And what kind of challenges are we facing in the industry? What kind of challenges are the telecom service providers challenging?
I think the first challenge is that people aren't necessarily aware that the threat exists in the first case. People are aware that quantum computers that would be able to break encryption will appear at some point in the future. And you can take a big guess as to how many years or decades that may be away. They're not aware, though, that people are storing data now in anticipation of being able to decrypt it, which is why we've seen a lot of effort over the last 2 or 3 years to define a new set of crypto algorithms that are resistant to quantum attack. To Lory's point, those now need to be standardized and need to be introduced into the security products that people in our industry buy, because we need to be able to protect the integrity of customer data long term, not just protect against kind of real-time hacks that might exist when quantum is available.
And fundamentally, this is an activity that isn't just with the operators. So it will be the operators that will be implementing it, but it's the entire supply chain that needs to support this effort, because we need to implement the capabilities that are required. So the vendors, cloud service providers, and so on and so forth.
And in fact, you can see that in the composition of the task force. We're very pleased, haven't we? Because the level of momentum it's generated, we're now at, what are we, 35, 36?
Over 35 members.
35 members. So we've got a whole bunch of global mobile operators. We've got a bunch of technology providers, solution providers. So it's been a very, very collaborative effort. And it shows, to Lory's point, how we need to be mobilized in the industry to solve this. A little bit similar to the way that people had to solve the Y2K problem.
And we've also had participation from governments as well, because this is obviously a topic that they're very keen to make sure that we have the right capabilities in place.
From a government perspective, or more in general as an industry?
Well, governments are looking at this as part of protecting the critical national infrastructure. So they're sort of very keen to put in place the right mechanisms to ensure that things happen in the right timeframes. And this is a rapidly evolving area, because it is an evolution of existing cybersecurity guidelines. But to Luke's point, some of these things are not well understood, there are uncertainties around timelines. So it's a topic that does require some attention.
And you say it's an evolution. So what can we expect the coming years? It's a young task group, I understand, but can you give some outline, some future outlook?
Yeah, so we just had our first industry seminar actually. Yeah, was that yesterday? Feels like a long time ago. We had it yesterday, and we laid out we presented our first white paper that we published just before MWC that sets, if you like, a baseline for some of the steps that we need to be taking as an industry to adopt standards, and I guess the steps that need to be taken by individual operators. In terms of the piece that needs to be taken by the industry and where we need to be working together, that forms the basis of what we do next in the task force. So I think we laid out a few steps around building a risk framework, looking at the business risk, if you like, of what would be the consequence of this data not being secured, so that we can start to build the right measured plans towards mitigating that threat.
I think also looking at, we're looking at the risk, but we're also looking at the potential business opportunities that this presents. So for the operators, this is something that, they'll be in a position to offer services to their customers around this. So it's not just a threat, there's also a business opportunity.
Are you thinking about security services or what?
Yeah, I'd reinforce that, absolutely. So, I mean, in fact, that's where our work first started, was realizing that certain customer groups were asking for products such as SD-WAN or VPNs to be made quantum safe. So on the one hand, we've got to secure all of our own internal business processes and systems. On the other hand, we've got an opportunity to start selling that capability into our customers.
Yes, I mean, from a task force perspective, we're looking at this also as an opportunity, because ultimately the preparation will allow to future-proof investments. So it is something that we believe that preparing in the right timeframes will bring a significant benefit compared to not preparing or leaving it later. So even future-proofing investments in terms of what requirements we're putting on the vendors to provide crypto agility or to provide quantum safe for post-quantum cryptographic products that can be deployed, then that's also an opportunity that ultimately will future-proof some of the investments that are being made today.
It's a green field full of opportunities and a lot of guidance needed. I think for everybody, follow the task force. That's the key message, because it's going to be very important.
Come on, join the task force. If you're part of the GSMA, you're going to be part of helping protect the future and also create the right opportunity.
An open invitation to join the task force.
We're always looking for active participants.
Perfect. Thank you for watching here from Mobile World Congress 2023. Thank you for watching and see you next time.